Welcome to the Palmer Performance Workshop. This is part 3 of the Yamaha R1 Track bike build, and in this video we're going to take all the standard suspension and forks out and start putting the new suspension in, the Ohlins, and start fitting the other parts like the Bonamici top yoke, the handlebars and the clip-ons and odds and ends like that. So keep watching, we'll see how it goes. So we're just undoing the bolts that hold the handlebars in position to the top yoke. Now we're going to just undo all the pinch bolts, so the top yoke pinch bolts and the bottom of the fork pinch bolts for the front wheel spindle, so that we can drop the front wheel out. As you can see, once the nut's undone with our axle puller, we can easily pull the front wheel spindle out, put that to one side. Now the top yoke, we've already taken the nut off the top and just pull the top yoke out of the way because we're going to fit the Bonamici one. Now we'll just undo the clamps on the handlebars, get them off and up on the bench, and now we're ready to undo the lower clamps and drop the fork legs out. And there's the first one, and the second one, and now we're ready to put the Ohlins forks in. So the front end, the forks, the handlebars, the top yoke are all completely out of the bike now. We've just got the handlebars on the bench here. We'll be reusing the clutch perch, so I just need to take the bar end and the grip off, take the switchgear out the way, and then that'll slide off the bar. And then with the throttle, it's an electronic throttle and it's all built into this switch housing. We're going to replace this with an aftermarket switch, but we have to reuse the actual the electronic throttle sensor that's in there, so we'll also take this off the bar so that we can strip it out ready for the new switchgear. So here we go, oil cooler and radiator guard from Evotech. Really nice stuff. As you can see, it's a UK based company, all made and manufactured and produced in the UK. The oil cooler guard, literally you just take the standard R1 off, R1 one off, and this one drops in its place. The radiator guard, that hooks into the top of the radiator up there and then mounts using one of the original mounts at the bottom, and then they give you these bits of sticky back foam which just you put down the side of the radiator to stop the guard chafing on it. Let's get them fitted. Look at that. Not only does it look trick, it's going to keep your radiator and oil cooler nicely protected as well. One other little thing that I'll show you while we're down here. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it. So up here, there's a little metal bracket, and the standard ABS lines are kind of bolted to this, but also it carries a little clip and a holder for the front wheel speed sensor. Now, I quite like leaving these brackets on because it does a really good job of keeping that wheel speed sensor wire safe. Any of you with track bikes, almost certainly you'll know someone who's had a wheel speed sensor issue, and a lot of the time it's because the wire's been rerouted or relocated, and then as a function of that it's then got caught or damaged on something. If you keep the OE style fitments, you know, Yamaha have designed that to keep the wire safe for tens of thousands of road miles. So if it was good enough for Yamaha, it's good enough for me. Right, time to put those shiny Ohlins in. Now, a big thing when you're putting new forks in, especially ones that look as good as these, is to make sure you don't twist the fork as you put it in, because that's a really easy way of scratching the outer, and also making sure, especially on a bike that's not brand new, that the holes through the yokes are clean, so there's no dirt or anything that will pick up on the tubes as you slide them in. Now that's on, we are just sort of checking that it lines up nicely. These forks are actually wasted on the side, so that they flex in a slightly different way. We like to make sure that they're all lined up perfectly. Must have spilt something on the floor then, wiping up. So now we're happy with how they're lined up. We'll get the torque wrench out, and here we're just sort of nipping the forks up, because what we want to do is just torque the top nut on the yoke before we sort of double check the height of the forks and make sure we're happy with the position, and then we get the torque wrench out and torque up the lower yoke. We'll do the top in a minute. So the forks are in. How sweet do they look? Bonamici top yokes on. And what you'll see, I've got a couple of sockets on top of the preload adjusters. That's because I want to set the handlebar position, because I haven't done them up yet. And years ago, I made these tools, which basically you can use for setting the bar position. And then once you set one side, you then flip it over and set the other side. It's something I did for racing. I was working with a rider who was particularly fussy about his handlebar position, and he'd always come in going, oh, the bars aren't symmetrical, they're not symmetrical. And I thought, well, if I make a tool that definitely makes them symmetrical, then you can't argue with me. So that was why I did it. And now I use it whenever I'm setting handlebars up for a customer in the workshop, and there's like a graduated scale on it, so I know what position kind of works for most people. So we'll get them set up, nip up the bolts, and then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pop the fork caps off, because these forks were, I mean, they're basically brand new, but they have been used. I just want to take the caps off and just double check what spring sizes are in there and what the air gap is, the oil level in the forks, so that we know it's kind of where we want it to be to work for our rider. Okay, so we've got the springs out. There's also a little spacer for the spring at the bottom that we need to take out to be able to measure the oil level properly in the fork. Air gap and oil level, and then the air gap that it leaves affects basically how the front forks feel when you're deep at the bottom of the stroke. It gives you that last little bit of resistance, if you like, when you're at full travel. Something again, during, at racing we play with quite a lot. Trying to give the right amount of support to the rider at the front end. So we've got a pull-up rod attached to the damper rod. We make sure that the damper rod is pushed all the way down. Then I've got here a fork oil level tool. I've already set the appropriate distance for the gap I want, and we just suck out the right amount of oil. If there's not enough oil in there, then obviously we'd put some oil in and then drain it back out again, using the oil level tool to get it right. But that is now spot on. We can put the springs back in and she'll be ready to go. That's the fork oil level set. We've put the springs back in, put the caps back on, nip the top caps up. Now the top caps are nipped up, we can nip up the top fork pinch bolts. So we've got the old torque wrench up doing that. Get them nipped up. And the other side. There we go, they're all good to go. Right. Front fork spring preload, 14mm adjuster on the fork cap. First thing we do is we make sure that it's all the way off, so anti-clockwise all the way off. And then when people talk about turns of preload or millimetres of preload, most forks, Ohlins, K-Tech, etc., 1 turn of your adjuster equals 1mm of preload. Now with these Ohlins forks with the springs that are in them, we're going to start them off at 8 turns. So we literally make sure we've gone all the way off onto anti-clockwise and then count 8 turns on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that's just the base setting. That will vary, can vary according to track. You know, for example, like a faster flowing track, you tend to run a slightly softer front end. The bike will turn better and faster. A more aggressive, heavy braking track, you would maybe even put a stiffer spring in and more preload on the front. The next thing we've got to do is just check the damping settings on the front. Now on these Ohlins Nix forks, they have compression damping in one leg and rebound damping in the other leg. With the rebound adjusters, they're a little 3mm Allen key down the inside of the preload adjusters. And with them, they work kind of the opposite way to the preload. So to see where they're at, we have to count how many clicks they go in until they stop. But we're not forcing it to stop, we're just feeling where it stops. Basically, you've got a needle in a hole. So if you try and jam it, you can actually damage that needle. So you just kind of gently counting them in. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11, it's just stopped there at 11. And then we'll now count out. Let's, for example, put 12 clicks on it. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that would now be 12 clicks compression is what we refer that to. And we do the same on the other side, count it in and then count it back off again. And then we'll make notes of all the springs, the oil level, the preload settings, the compression and rebound settings. They'll go on a setup sheet for the customer, which he'll take away with him. I keep that electronically. And then if they're away at an event somewhere and they're having a particular handling problem, they can message me, ask me what they think they should change according to what problems they're having. I can reference back to their setup sheet and go, oh, you need to put some more preload on or take it off or adjust some damping or whatever. And hopefully that means that we can sort of keep their bike in a sweet spot for them. Starting to look pretty nice here. The carbon air duct and clock bracket has gone on, so we've put the dash back on. You can see the Bonamici top yoke and the Ohlins forks caps. Connected the dash back up. This wiring up here, there's some bits we don't use anymore, so we just kind of put the odd cable tie in just to hold it all together. Some of the race looms, not so much with these, but sometimes you see people try and put the wire in sort of round the back of the fork and through this gap here and then up to the clock. But 9 times out of 10 what happens is it ends up getting caught by the lock stop there and getting damaged and causing electrical issues. So if you leave it up here, once the fairings are on, you can't really see it, and it's all nice and out of harm's way. With the front end all fitted, it was time to take the opportunity to fit a few other small bits and pieces. So we've got the GB Racing engine protection covers all fitted up to the left hand side and the right hand side. They'll protect the bike in the event that the customer has a small off of some sort. They are used in everything from club racing through to Moto 2. And then we've got the Bonamici rear sets fitted. I like these, they're really nice, simple, clean design. So next job we're going to do is we're going to prep the brake calipers and get them fitted up. Like we said in the previous video, the pads in these are just a double H pad, like a normal sort of fast road pad, I suppose you'd call them. So we're just going to pop them out. We'll put them to one side, give them to the customer. He might want to use them for spares, or maybe one of his mates might want to use them. So that's one out. And they're really nice, these. There's no pins or anything that hold them in. They're just sprung, little spring plate in there, sort of held in place by that. Just pop them straight out. And these are the pads we like to use. TRW, it's a German manufacturer. They're what's called a dual sintered pad, and basically the same as like your Brembo Z04s and your SBS DS pads. Really good. Actually used these in a lot of race bikes over the years. A few of the riders I've worked with have actually been sponsored by them as well, so won plenty of races at British level, and they just pop straight in, same as the other ones came out. I'll just make sure they're all the way back against the pistons. Obviously these are brand new calipers, so we don't need to clean them or anything. If we were fitting new pads to a caliper on the bike, what I would normally do is take them out. I'd normally take them out and then get some soapy water and a toothbrush and clean the pistons and the inside of the caliper with that. Make sure they're nice and fresh, ready for new ones. It's being a little bit more fiddly with the spring. There we go, that's it. So they're now ready to go on. Now with the forks and different calipers, we've also got some little spacers to get the spacing right for the caliper with the discs. And then from the company we use Race Bolt. We've got some nice new bolts, and you can see they've got drilled heads, so we can lock bind them if we want. So now they're all sorted and we've got everything ready, let's get them bolted onto the Ohlins forks. Here we go, first caliper going on. So slide it over the disc, and we're just going to pop one of the spacers in the top there. The bolt's got a little dab of grease on it, just keep the threads nice. We'll just screw it in a couple of threads. It'll hold itself there, and we'll pop the bottom spacer in. And then get the old trusty Milwaukee out on setting 4. And that just does them up to 20 Newton meters. And we finish off getting the old prop torque wrench out. Give them a check. There we go. Looking good. Now let's get the other one on. Once we've done that, we can look at measuring up for the custom brake lines that we're going to have made for it by Hell Performance. So we actually fitted the brake master cylinder the other day. Now got the calipers on, we can look at what we're going to do for brake hoses. Now, you see all sorts of different types of race brake hose set up. Most common is just 2 separate lines running off a double banjo bolt down to each caliper. What we tend to like to do on a nice build is what we call an H setup. It's normally used on race bikes with data logging, but basically you have one line which comes down to a T-piece here, a line that goes across the yoke, and then a line down to each caliper. And then on the other side, there'll be another T-piece which goes upwards here, and you'll have a brake pressure sensor sort of sitting on the top here for your data logging. Now obviously this bike's not having data logging on it, so we won't use that bit. There'll just be a little elbow here. So once the pipes come across the yoke, it'll then run down to this caliper. So all we've got to do is just check what measurements and what fittings we need, and then we'll put them on an email, fire it over to Hell Performance, and they'll make the brake lines to our specifications. In part 4, we're going to start on the back end of the bike. So we've got new chain of sprockets to fit with race gearing. different rear spring that will fit up to the Ohlins shock, get that in the bike. And then we've also got the L74 quick change rear wheel kit to fit, along with a different, it's actually a Hell underslung rear caliper and new brackets, chain adjusters and shark fin and such like. So that'll all be in part 4. There we go. So if you guys have got any questions or anything you'd like to ask or know about the R1 build, please feel free to put a comment on. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I can reply either on the next video or in a short, or just reply to your comment. Other than that, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.